Welcome to the Art of Classiness podcast, a show where we redefine what it means to be a classy lady. And sometimes it's messy. I'm Robin.
And I'm Deborah, two friends turned classy ladies who are here to discuss life's ups and downs, navigating the complexities of adulthood, and how the gift of friendship is essential to belonging.
Today we're talking about something we don't usually name out loud, how the things we love can create instant connection and help us find our people.
Whether it's BookTok, Swifties trading friendship bracelets, horror forums, or true crime communities whispering SSDGM, shared passion is one of the fastest ways to belong.
But once you know what lights you up, how do you actually find your community as an adult?
We're getting into the psychology of belonging, how internet micro-communities create connection, and yes, that fine line between fandom and friendly cult energy.
We're not experts, just curious, and we brought a few studies to make this fun.
So follow along, give us your feedback, and don't forget to like and subscribe. What's up, classy ladies and gentlemen? Robin, let's check on in. How are things in your world?
They're great. Yesterday, Seth and I hosted a housewarming party.
Ooh, fun.
And I introduced these Oregonians to some Texas-style chili.
Okay. And I need you to tell the people, because people in Ohio don't believe me. What is one thing you omit from a Texas chili?
Beans.
Absolutely correct. Thank you. Go on.
Yeah, and everybody was asking that, like, what makes it Texas-style chili? It doesn't have beans. And so I have never liked beans in my chili.
Me neither. I was so happy to go to Texas and realize that that was the standard. And I love it. I prefer it that way.
Yeah. So I made all the fix-ins, and I also provided Frito scoops so people could make Frito pie if they wanted.
Hell yeah. Hell yes.
It was glorious, and everyone had a great time. The weather was lovely. Our house is cute. It was just really nice, and like just to see how many people showed up. You know, we're kind of building our own little community here.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good.
That's awesome. And hosting people is really just a ceremonious moment where you're like, we live here. This is our home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I won't mention that we have to move in 6 months.
Best to just kick that can down the road.
Yeah. How are you?
I am great. It's so funny you talk about hosting a party, you know, in your case, a housewarming party, because I was like, you know what? I might be ready to host something in my house for the neighborhood soon.
Aw.
We've all kind of taken turns, like having little, like, whether it is a Halloween party or a tailgate party or a pool party, like everyone's kind of taken their turn being the one that's like, okay, everyone over at my place. And I just haven't, because I'm very self-deprecating, and there just have been things that I'm like, no, I need to do this first. I need to do that first. And all of those things come with a $ next to it, right?
Of course.
Now I'm finally feeling like back in a place where I can just tweak little things. And this weekend I went hard on reorganizing my kitchen because, as promised to my son when I accepted my job a few weeks ago, we got a Sam's Club membership. But you gotta be prepared with the pantry when you get a Sam's Club membership, because the boxes are huge and they don't fit in like standard size cabinets, which is what I have. So I went bin crazy. I bought a bunch of bins and I broke down all the boxes of snacks and like organized all the snacks in my pantry.
Yes.
And like I have another storage area that I got bigger bins for like all the bulk ingredient foods. And it's crazy that like that made me so happy this weekend.
I totally relate.
I found myself opening my cabinet just to be like, there it is. Look how good it looks.
I literally do the same thing.
So stupid. It just felt so good to feel put together. There's just like an adult level accomplishment of like, look at you. You have it together now. And
yes.
That is what made me be like, you know what? People could be ready to enter your home and like appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. I completely identify with that. You know, I like super cleaned, super organized the house, preparing for guests. And I would just like walk into the office just to look at it.
Yes.
With all the cute lighting.
Yeah. You didn't really clean your whole house if you didn't take a second chance to be like, let me just look at this room again.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. I'm excited for you. Turning a new page.
Turning a new page and, just trying to deeper these relationships that I have made in Ohio,
Hmm.
which is actually a nice little segue for our conversation, which is a unique way of finding a sense of belonging. And that is through shared interests, things that you love, and just general fandom.
Yeah, that is so funny. Like, I actually wasn't even thinking about that when we did our check-in. And like, Seth is really finding his community in the Bitcoin space. He's been going to Bitcoin meetups. And so a couple of his friends that he's made came to the party yesterday and like they just spent the whole time talking about Bitcoin. So like that seems to be his new group of people here. And I find that so interesting, like the psychology behind belonging and why shared enthusiasm like bonds people so fast.
And it's so funny because when I was in therapy, love starting out a sentence like that. But when I spoke with my therapist about some of the loneliness I was feeling post-divorce, just trying to find my tribe here, she would tell me making friends is literally a science, and it starts with a shared interest. Find people with a shared interest, whether it's going to the gym, whether it is a book club, or just anything where you are all excited about the same thing. And then do that thing repeatedly, and then be the one that offers them going to a third space together. She's like, you just do that over and over again, and you're going to find friends. And so it's really fitting that today we're going to kind of talk about the psychology as to why that works, and also just some pitfalls that you might want to avoid so that you're not too culty,
Classy, not culty. That's right.
Classy, not culty. Yes.
So let's talk about the psychological and emotional foundation for why fandoms and shared interests bond people fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember some of these theories like learning in college. So it's actually been kind of fun to like put my education hat back on and tap back into some of these studies. There are actually several different studies and theories in psychology, sociology that really help us understand why loving the same thing can be an easy fast track towards friendship. And one of them is the social identity theory by Tajfel, we think it's pronounced, and Turner, way back in 1979, which essentially is that we define ourselves partly by our groups, right? So very popular these days, like I'm a Swiftie, or I'm a crime junkie, I'm a BookTok girly. You're not just saying, I like Taylor Swift, you are saying, I am a Swiftie. And when you communicate that, all of a sudden people instantly recognize the type of person and interest and maybe personality traits that you have that will signal to them, oh, I am very similar and I am in that group as well. So you and I are connected in this way that we identify ourselves.
Well, it makes it such an easy way to start a conversation. Like, I have social anxiety. I know you do too. It's scary to try to talk to people you don't know. But the second you find something in common, it sparks something. It ignites a really interesting dynamic. And this could be a really useful tool for people like you and me who have social anxiety and struggle to like start conversation, especially when people are doing like the typical, where are you from? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about what I do. Not right now.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it can very quickly create a sense of belonging. You feel validated in things that interest you, and it can increase your self-esteem.
Yeah. And there's a differentiation between having a similar interest and feeling a sense of belonging to a community. Like, for example, when I first moved here, maybe like a year into moving here, I went out with a coworker and he introduced me to someone and he goes, oh, she went to the University of Dayton too. And I was like, oh, get out. I was like, go Dayton Flyers. Like, what street did you live on? What dorm were you in? And she was so quick to be like, yeah, I'm not really like a flyer like that.
Oh man, burst your balloon.
So I was like, okay, cool. What else is going on? Like, literally just stopped me dead in my tracks. She gave me nothing. But just because we went to the same university didn't mean that we had that same sense of belonging with each other, because she didn't have the same identifiers of being a member of that group that I did.
Right. For my college experience, I didn't start going to Texas State until I was 22. And so I'm 4 years older than most of the people starting out.
Hmm.
And I was commuting from Austin. So I wasn't living in the town. I wasn't living on campus. Like, I did not have your typical college experience. So it's a very similar thing for me. If people try to talk to me about that stuff, I'm like, I can't not relate at all.
They're like, eat 'em up, cats. And you're like, I commuted there.
I never even knew the hand symbol. I was just like, rawr, bobcats.
No, you got two fingers pointed towards San Marcos and then the cat with the other hand. Eat 'em up, cats. There you go.
Okay. All right. See, I didn't even know that because, guys, also Deborah went to Texas State for her master's.
I did. And I only learned that after I graduated from someone who was like a diehard Bobcat. So it just goes to show you, like, again, it's more than just like, I like this thing. It's like you have kind of given different areas of your focus and you participate in rituals that give you a sense of belonging.
So we have another study here done by Osgood et al. In 2013, and they talk about the similarity attraction effect. People are drawn to those who mirror their values, humor, or emotional tone.
One of my favorite examples of this, if you watch The Office, is after the merger when Andy becomes an employee at the Scranton office and he understands that he has to mirror Michael Scott's personality in order to get him to like him. And it works at first. You know, he's literally saying exactly what he's saying. He's like copying his mannerisms. And Michael Scott's like, there's something just so likable about Andy. And it's literally because he's seeing the same traits that he sees in himself. So we're all just a little egotistical and we want somebody to be very similar to us initially.
For me, it just makes me feel like less of a weirdo. I largely identify as a weirdo.
Same.
And one of my friends, like, whenever we hang out, it's like I am talking to a mirror. Like, we have the exact same sense of humor. She cracks me up. And it just, like, I always feel safe hanging out with her. I never feel judged or anything.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean that you guys will never hit any, trials and tribulations. Obviously,
Totally.
I get sick of myself. So if I'm going to be around someone who's just like me, they might get annoying. But it's that initial sense of like, oh, I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm not the only one who thinks this way. I'm not the only one who acts this way. And that is so comforting. And it's because we actually get dopamine hits when we have a sense of belonging. So in another study, because again, Robin and I are not necessarily experts, but it's important to kind of back this stuff up with facts. There was a 2021 study at UC Berkeley by Dacher Keltner. Apologies for the pronunciation. It talks about collective effervescence, which is like that rush you feel at like a concert or when you're doing something as a group, when everyone shares an emotion. It can kind of strengthen bonds and identity. So whether you are at a football game and your team just won, or you're at a concert and, she starts singing your favorite song and everyone else, it's their favorite song too. Like there's just like this collective dopamine hit that everybody gets. I mean, who doesn't want to have that feeling of like, hey, get over here, you. Hey, why don't you sit with us? Hey, she went to UD too. Let's talk to her. Like that just makes your brain so happy.
Football games is such a perfect example because what a rush. When you're in the crowd chanting, it's so fun. You could say I support UT Austin, but I don't really follow college football, but I love going to live sports because I just like being a part of that vibe. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely feel like I belong there in the moment because we're all cheering for the same team. We're all like against the other team. It's great. It's so great.
Yeah, it really is great. So you can experience that kind of sense of belonging in so many different ways today, right? And there's so many different hobbies or sports or niches. There's so many different avenues nowadays that can help you get a sense of belonging based on some of your interests. And a lot of them exist in pop culture. Like, I mean, Robin and I have to absolutely give homage to one of our favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder. But what's so interesting about My Favorite Murder is like it's beyond just a podcast, and many other podcasts are like this. They create their own identity. So like their whole mantra of stay sexy and don't get murdered. If I were to say SSDGM to someone and they know what I'm talking about, I know that we're operating like on the same wavelength.
Right. That's just one of so many different like corners of the internet. TikTok is a really good example because they cover all of it. You know, BookTok is a really well-known one, but you've also introduced me to Hopecore. What are some other ones?
I mean, there's so many hobbies you can follow, like DIY talk. It makes me want to just buy machinery and just do everything in my home myself because some 23-year-old is flipping houses already in Mississippi and making a killing. Like, you can really just get sucked down these rabbit holes depending on what your hobbies are.
I got sucked into the sourdough bread making rabbit hole, and I did buy a ton of new equipment last week, and I have my own starter going.
Nice.
So that's all that's coming up on my feed now, and I've started following these people. I'm nerding out on that right now, and I haven't really been engaging in conversation, but I love reading all the comments and seeing people that are struggling in the same ways that I am while learning how to do all this.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's obviously so many different avenues that you can fall down to try to figure out what are the interests that really spark joy? What are the things that you could talk about for 30 straight minutes without interruption? So that is a good way of identifying where you feel like people would really get to know you or things that you could engage with in terms of other groups that have similar interests. Why don't we talk a little bit about how you can actually turn those interests into connection and where that connection is actually happening now?
So finding your corner, like where connection actually happens. Like, how do you discover these groups? How do you join them? How do you participate? Like, it can be overwhelming, but the modern third place isn't the coffee shop, right? It's digital micro communities, which is exactly what we were just talking about. TikTok is a huge platform for that.
Yeah. And I think it probably started in the pandemic, right? I mean, that's really where TikTok blew up. It was kind of the new social media app, but it also was big on trends at the time. So whether it was a dancing trend or a prank or, kind of participating in something that other people were doing, it was a very creative way for you to kind of like jump in, like you're, jumping in double Dutch jump rope, just kind of finding your rhythm and being like, you know what, I'm going to try doing this thing. I'm going to try this trend. I'm going to lip sync this song or whatever it is. So I think that's really where it started, but where it has evolved is these very niche communities like we talked about. I mean, for me on social media, when I stopped drinking, sober talk or like sober influencers on Instagram were so comforting to engage with. And I will tell you, I made such a beautiful community when I was still on Instagram because I started participating in talking a lot more about my sober journey and the trials and tribulations of quitting alcohol. And I connected with other micro and bigger influencers. And hearing someone's story that sounded so much like mine was so validating, and sharing my story and other people being like, oh my God, that's exactly how I was feeling. It was such a crazy sense of belonging. I really can't describe it, and really motivated me to keep going. And I never met any of these people in real life, is the crazy part. So whether it was like just messaging each other on the app or joining a live, it was just a very powerful digital community where I felt not only a lot of support, but I felt that sense of belonging that was so crucial in those early days.
Well, it makes sense because it's an emotional alignment, and that is so huge. We have another study from Pew Research in 2023. 70% of young adults feel deeply connected to at least one online community they've never met in person. That's wild.
Yeah.
How can we take these online communities and turn it into a real life meetup? I think like what comes to mind right away is like Comic-Con. I've personally never been, but I've seen plenty of like videos and photos. Like people go crazy for Comic-Con, dressing up as their favorite characters. You get to totally nerd out
Yes.
with other people who enjoy it the same way you do. Like you go elsewhere and you might feel silly in a costume, right? But not at Comic-Con.
Well, the closest thing that I have been to was at PopCon Indy, where
That's
we
right.
were nominated and won 2 awards for our podcast. No big deal.
No biggie.
But I'd never been to a convention like that before, and I really didn't know what to expect. And boy, did I stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, you looking normal makes you the weirdo.
Yes, 1000%. And I didn't know that there were a lot of like anime discussion panels happening. There were like horror genres. There were a lot of art based or television and film or like cult classic style of interests that people were all in on. And people were in full costume. And I gotta tell you, I probably recognize like 3 to 5% of some of these costumes because a lot of them were just not mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Iron Man was walking around. It was like a character from an anime, comic book, or I don't even know how to describe some of the genres that were there. But what I loved was how comfortable people were in their own skin because it was almost like they were there, they were meeting their people. Some of them probably were meeting in real life for the first time. And there was like teenagers there and there were whole families there. And I just love seeing people in their element, even if I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But knowing that they were making real connections with each other and had freedom of expression like that, like truly warmed my heart.
Aww.
Yeah.
Something else I just thought of is board game communities.
Yeah.
Like in Bend, I'm sure more exist, but I've seen at least 2 businesses where like that's their thing. Like people go there to play board games together.
Yeah. What a great way to meet people, because
Mhm.
again, like you don't necessarily have to jump right in with the small talk, like, where are you from? What do you do? And like expect to fill that time with just talking about yourself. You're all focused on something else. And you're like building that rapport and you're
Yeah.
engaging in that ritual. I think board games, if you're into that, that's a great meetup style thing to do to just make new relationships.
Yeah. And Discord, I know, is another great platform full of different communities, especially in the gaming world.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all different avenues you can try where you just start by commenting and DMing, joining these discussion threads, and finding out where these people are from and where you might be able to meet up with them in person at things such as Comic-Con or even a concert. People travel from all over the world to go to specific concerts, like
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is the perfect example. There were people literally traveling around the world to go to multiple concerts.
Yeah.
And the trading of the friendship bracelets, like you all have this common love
Mm-hmm.
for Taylor Swift. And like, what's your favorite era? When I went, there was a girl next to me. She did not speak English, but I was wearing a snake ring and she was like, Reputation. And it was just so cute. I was like, yeah. And so we're like dancing together and great times. Let's discuss the classy way to join these communities. Lead with curiosity over credibility. And that's something I've learned in multiple areas throughout my adulthood. Like it could be completely different subject material, but the leading way to build connection is be curious.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to lead with, I've been here since day one. I know everything. I'm going to quiz you right now. Just talk. Hey, I love this. I think it's amazing. What are your thoughts?
Right. And beyond that, the reason that people are hesitant to join social groups in person is that feeling of everybody knows what they're doing but me.
Yeah. And you don't want to be judged or made fun of.
Yeah, you're like, everyone already has their person and I am the outsider. And when you really put yourself out there, you find how many people have never done this before. That group of 3 people that looks like they've been friends forever, they may have just met or maybe have only gone to 1 or 2. So when you lead with curiosity, whether you are a first-time attendee of a meetup like that, or you are a long-time, group member, is to always lead with curiosity. How many times have you been here before? Like, oh my gosh, great. What was your favorite album? Like, what song turned you into a Swiftie? What is the craziest serial killer story you've ever heard if you're a murderino, right? Or like, what's your favorite character from this book series? Leading with curiosity really not only opens up the conversation for other people, but it takes the attention off of you and allows them to let their freak flag fly.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Freak flag. Let it fly.
Let it fly.
Yeah. And another piece of advice would be like, keep showing up, especially like that first time. Trust me, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's overwhelming, particularly if you struggle to talk to new people in general. But don't just go once and get discouraged. Like, consistency is what's going to build those friendships. People are going to start to recognize you. Maybe you didn't have a conversation with them before, but they'll be like, hey, I've seen you here a few times. Like, ask, share, reciprocate.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to compete. You don't have to know everything. More than likely, these people are just looking for someone to connect with as well. And they don't care that they might know more or be more involved than you are.
Right. Yeah. Consistency is the biggest part of that. And that's what my therapist said. She said, you can't just go once. You can't just peek your head in and just be like, boom, I didn't make friends today. Like, you have to keep showing up over and over again. So It's a great way to build that community.
Seth has tried, he's encouraging me to try to find new communities to join. Like, he knows I love climbing. Like, just go climbing. And I have gone a couple times. I haven't like socialized with new people, but I made some friends through my friend that lives here, Jackie, and they're the ones that have been inviting me to climb. So I've built a new connection with these friends, and now they're actually becoming my friend. At first, they were just friends of my friend, but now like we have this commonality where like we just talk about climbing the whole time we're there, and it's really great.
That's so great. Yeah, I'm so glad that you have that outlet and you are building on those friendships, and that's exactly what you need to do. Love that.
Good stuff.
Okay, so now you've identified the things that you're interested in, the things that spark you joy. You found your method of engaging, whether it's through these digital micro communities or taking it a step further and meeting up in person. Let's talk about belonging versus becoming. How to keep it classy and not culty.
That's right. Belonging versus becoming is a great way to put it, because this whole episode, we've been talking about finding belonging in community. Becoming, which is making it your entire personality, is how you might end up in a cult.
Yeah.
There's a difference between healthy participation and boundaries and collective fandom and collective control.
Right. It always starts small, It always starts with maybe someone being like, hey, wouldn't it be great if every week we could get together and talk about ways that we can overthrow the government? No.
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the church.
I know. And I was hesitant to say it. But I mean, there's a fine line.
It is. And it's not that religion is bad. It's not that going to church is frowned upon by me. It's that some people leading these communities take advantage of that community's belief in God.
And I would even go a step further, is that they start by taking advantage of someone's loneliness.
Yes.
And they offer community and belonging as a solution for that loneliness. And, Sarah Silverman she still might have a podcast. And I remember an episode she did years ago where she talked about a friend that she had who, in his adolescence, just kind of fell out with a lot of his friends. He had some home life issues, maybe like drugs were involved. And where he did find belonging was with neo-Nazis. And it was a group of people who preyed upon his loneliness and preyed upon a feeling of frustration of not belonging. And they promised him that. And he had come out the other side, and acknowledged that you go where the love is.
Mm-hmm.
You go where the love is. And so there are nefarious people who take advantage of a lonely person and use that to their advantage. And then they hold that community over them like, well, now this is the only thing you have. So now you can't leave.
Right. It's a form of manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
The ingredients for fandom and like-minded love for hobbies, artists, etc. There is such a fine line between that and the manipulation. So the community might start off the same. It's when somebody starts, like what you said, turning something you love into the reason why you need to be thinking the same way as all of us.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, yes, there's a big overlap between religion and cult sometimes because you really have to have somebody focus on a bigger picture outside of themselves. And religion is a good way to do that, to really have manipulation over them. Again, we're not saying religion is bad, but it's the bad actors who operate literally in bad faith that take this on. But it can start small. Like, did you watch that TikTok dance cult documentary on Netflix?
No.
Like, this was a cult born out of people who just wanted to become dance creators on TikTok.
A cult started from that?
Cult started from, you got to watch the documentary. You got to watch it.
Okay.
But, it kind of showcases they were sisters, and two sisters, they got this opportunity to meet with this guy. And he was like, hey, all of us do these dances. We wanted to be able to maybe live in a house together and we can cross promote each other. It's like, yeah, sounds good. And he's like, also, we worship the Lord. And they're like, okay, yeah, I mean, cool, that's fine. And then that became part of like his really manipulation and control over them. And like one sister got out, but the other sister is still in. And she is like a huge TikTok creator, which is the crazy thing. So you got to watch this documentary. But sometimes it can start as that shared interest and can sort of build into a direction where like you're no longer just dancing for fun. You're giving someone 80% of your earnings because he says that like he's a vessel of the Lord and he should be receiving it. Insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like it starts as these like shared interests, like, oh, I'm a doomsday prepper. Yeah, I think it's just good to be prepared, to all of a sudden you were like living in a bunker underground,
Yes.
right? So that's where you really want to not only maintain a strong sense of self, like have boundaries that that are not going to like maybe lead you down that path.
Right.
And make sure that you're mixing it up. Don't go all in. You don't have to become a zealot just because you have found a community that maybe feels like they get you or that you're finally a member of something. Like, have healthy boundaries with your fixations.
And if you're wondering what signs to look for, if you're just not sure if you're being manipulated or not, you should be able to speak your opinion without experiencing backlash. You should feel safe to say, I don't really like Taylor Swift's new album. And people will be like, cool, that's just your opinion and respect.
Right. If they're going to ostracize you from the group because you have a differing opinion, you wouldn't even tolerate like lifelong friends who operated like that. You certainly shouldn't tolerate new ones.
Yeah. Our friend Melissa is a perfect example. We
tried.
Talked to her so much about how much we love Taylor Swift, and she's tried to listen to it. Then she texted us one day and goes, guys, I figured it out. I think I belong in the Bay Hive.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. And we're like, that's great. That is great.
Yeah. And we supported it. We're like, hey, you love what you love. And we accept you for that, for what you are, who you are. And if anyone is trying to change that or bully you, that's not your friend. That's not your community.
Right. And obviously, cults are the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But it's also just like ending up in a group of people that started with the same values because you had a common interest, but it sort of evolves into things that you're like, I'm not really down with that,
Yes.
I'm not really down with the way that if someone doesn't know every single song on every album, we like make fun of them. Like, I'm not down for that. Or like, I'm waiting for a pickleball cult to emerge. It's going to happen. People are so all in on pickleball, but I imagine that there's a lot of leagues that are too competitive for just like the majority of the people to want to engage in. Like they're so cutthroat and there's like a hierarchy and
Ugh,
somebody's like the
yeah.
queen bee. Like that's where you might not get that continued sense of belonging if all of a sudden you're like trying to make sure that you're appeasing like the number one guy in the group.
Yes. And I think sports is another great example
Mm-hmm.
because it is such a competitive thing. That one is like what I'd be the most scared of, like just showing up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I play basketball. Sure, I'll play some pickup. And then you just suck
Mm-hmm.
and you don't hear the end of it. That's scary to me. That just popped into my head. I don't know really where to take it.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, because I think in some of these groups, there is a hierarchy. Like I remember a long time ago having a coworker and her husband had just got into motorcycles. They each had their own, they would take them on rides, but they were very much starting to get into that group. And they had some friends that were like, oh yeah, we meet up here, we meet up there. And they would go to these larger like cycling meetups. But because they had Hondas and not Harley Davidsons, there were some people that they thought were their friends that like didn't engage with them at these events because like the Honda was like not as
oh my
cool
gosh.
as a Harley Davidson. It was like a status thing. They're like, we ride together over here, but I think your group is going to leave in about 10 minutes. And she like couldn't believe that an event that she thought would bring her closer to other people really just made her feel like more isolated. So that's the kind of community that like, that's a no for me.
Yeah, this is the negative side of trying to find community and great examples of why it might discourage you from ever trying that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do that once, you're like, nope, not going to go back. Not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't even know what kind of advice to give for that.
Well, I think it's the same with really any new thing that you try, right? Some things are just not going to be for you. I'm sure maybe she could find a sub Honda motorcycle group, and those are her people that are going to be a lot more open-minded. Or maybe if your pickleball league has gotten too competitive, find a different one to go to. Like it doesn't mean you have to abandon that common and shared interest. It just means that there's so many different groups that form and so many different types of people out there that don't get discouraged and not try to put yourself out there again. Like just keep going after it, keep finding your people. Find the one person that was also rolling their eyes when somebody was explaining the rules for the 10th time and say, all right, you're cool. Why don't you and I go do our own thing? And maybe that own thing has nothing to do with your shared interest now. Right?
Yeah.
Now you're like, you know what? Let's get coffee. And like you start talking about your lives and where you grew up. And now you're actually moving it into more of a everyday friendship and not just a hobby friend.
That's a great way to put it. It's healthy to admire, but not outsource identity to them. And I think that's the overarching theme when following somebody that you look up to.
Right. And you also have to know that you cannot know someone just from them being online. Unless you are around people day to day, you're only knowing what they choose to put out. And you have to always remember that they're flawed human beings just like everybody else. So don't let your admiration become adoration, where you're just willing to do anything and everything for them.
Yes. Yes.
It's pretty easy.
So some grounded takes for you. Fandom should be a pillar, not your personality.
Yeah. I mean, you can love something like My Favorite Murder without trying to solve a crime on your own. You know, you don't have to take it to that level where all of a sudden you are impeding upon an investigation because you're going to be Facebook FBI.
Yes, that's what books are for. Maybe explore BookTok. I love reading those kind of investigative stories. Do I want to do it myself? No.
No, exactly. So yeah, just keep an open mind. Remember your own values and have variety in your life. You know, it's good to engage in multiple different kinds of communities. And like you said, not make one interest become your entire personality.
Right. Don't lose who you are. And hopefully you have some friends outside of these groups who can call you on that. Like, hey, you seem different. Not in a good way.
Right.
And like, Deborah, you love to, I think sometimes you're serious, but there was a time where you're like, someone can knock on my door and ask me to join this cult and I might do it. I'm in that mindset where, because you had no sense of belonging.
Yeah.
You had no community, like you felt isolated and That's the perfect concoction.
I'm ripe for the pickin' over here. Okay. So yeah, I have to have my own boundaries. Like I absolutely am conscious of that when there is a rabbit hole I want to fall down because like I said, people want to go where the love is. So be aware of your own maybe naivete, your own sense of how impressionable you are. And if you keep those things in the forefront or just tell other people that are not in that shared interest group how you're feeling, then hopefully you won't join a cult.
Hopefully. So, a little closing reflection for everyone. Shared passion is powerful. It's how we find our people. But real belonging is when you can step away from the crowd and still know who you are. This is everything we've been saying in this segment. Don't lose who you are. Like, this is how you avoid joining a cult.
Yeah.
I feel like this podcast has saved you from joining a cult, if I'm being honest.
Right. Play this when you get lonely, and then join our cult of classiness.
Yes. But one of the things we preach is that classy is a state of mind. So whatever you deem classy is classy. We're not telling you what's classy. Like we'll tell you what we think is classy. You don't have to think the same way in order to consider yourself classy. And that's what makes us not a cult.
Exactly. We are not a cult.
We are not a cult.
That's a great place to land. Okay, it is time for our class act of the week. This is a segment where Robin and I take turns either reading listener emails, which you are welcome to send your class act of the week to artofclassiness@gmail.com. And it's just a time for us to either reflect or recognize something classy that happened in our day-to-day, or like we just talked about, parasocially. So this week it is Robin's turn. Robin, what's your class act of the week?
So I've made my husband, Seth, class act of the week before, but it was so long ago, I feel like I can renew this class act.
Let's do it.
My class act is Seth, my husband. He's just such a wonderful, loving human being, and I love hosting, right? I have a great passion for it. I love cooking and making people feel taken care of. Like, can I bring anything? Nope. I have it all. We're good. We're good. Just come and enjoy yourself. And so I've a lot of times just taken that on by myself. But in this relationship with Seth, he is right there with me. Like, what do you need me to do? Give me a list. And sometimes I don't even have to give him a list. Like, he just takes it upon himself. Like, okay, I'm going to go like weed the garden. I'm going to set up the chairs. Like he went and bought a leaf blower because he wanted it to look all manicured and nice. He went and bought a fire pit.
Aw.
And like, while I'm focusing on the things that I need to get done, he's just going around doing all the other stuff that I don't have time for. And it just feels so good to know that I have this teammate, that it is truly 50-50. And oh my gosh, I made so much chili that I actually didn't have a pot big enough to hold it. I used 12 pounds of meat.
Oh.
And so it's like 10 o'clock at night on Friday. And he went to 2 stores, ended up at Walmart, and found me a 12-quart pot and saved the day.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I going to do? And he immediately just jumped up and left. And it just makes me feel so supported in a way that I never have in a relationship before. Like his willingness to help me, to make sure that I'm happy. And I just feel so loved by him. And yeah, that's why he is my class act of the week.
This week and every week.
Truly.
But I mean, I don't think I can stress enough how much you deserve this love from Seth. I mean, I've known Robin for a long time, and many a dud have taken their place next to her. So I think you deserve everything that he is giving you and more. And I'm just happy for you guys that you found each other.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay, let's finish strong with our favorite segment, Class or Crass. This is where we read a scenario and we decide, is it classy or is it crassy? Okay, are you ready for this week's?
Let's go.
Okay. You casually say you like a new artist's latest album. Someone nearby jumps in, their old stuff was better, then proceeds to explain why in excruciating detail. They clearly care, maybe too much. So, is it classy that they tried to connect through their fandom, even if it came off a little intense, or crass because they made you feel small for not knowing more?
This is honestly a real quick way for me to shut down.
Yeah, right.
If I'm trying to relate to someone and they immediately just want to let me know that they know more, that they're a bigger fan, I'm like, that's great. I love that for you. But now I'm scared to talk to you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware this was a competition. I thought it was a conversation,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
And I think we all picture a dude being the one that says this.
You know, I did. I did. I didn't even mean to.
And you know what? Call me sexist, because I'm sure if a guy was like, I like Taylor Swift's new album, I could see maybe some women being like, what about her other ones? But I also don't. I also see them being like, that's awesome. What's your favorite song on it? Like, tell me more. Oh my gosh. So yeah, maybe that's just my own, matriarchal lens on here. But men are very competitive, more so than women. And when they feel like they are the subject matter expert, like they want to put that out into the world to make sure that they are still the subject matter expert. So this feels like very guyish to me a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's a result of our society that men particularly even feel this way, feel like they have to know more, be better, etc. And like, I know I'm generalizing and it's not all men and women can do this too, but I think that's why our initial instinct is to think of a man in this situation, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have been to many an executive dinner where I have had to listen for the umpteenth time as they argue about who the best top 5 NBA basketball players of all time. I've heard every single take. I've heard your Jordans, your, Kobe's, your everything in between. And I'm always just fascinated why can't you guys just be happy that you all have the same interest in basketball? Like, why does someone have to have a right take? So I say all that to say, to me, when someone comes at you with that energy of, I know more than you do, it is immediately like, it just rubs me the wrong way, and it does come off as crass.
It's a turnoff. It does. So what's a way to approach that in a classy way? Is there a way to recover from this?
Yeah, I think even just making it a question and not a statement. So instead of being like, their old stuff was better, like, for example, talking about Taylor Swift, right? There's a lot of people who prefer her melancholy, deep lyrical work like she did on Folklore, Evermore, and even Tortured Poets. This new album is very poppy. It's kind of a return to her being happy, which we love. But there are people that are upset that she's not like sad and writing soliloquies anymore. So if this was a Swift situation and I had been like, I like her new stuff, and then someone was like, Tortured Poets was way better, that's a turnoff to me. But if they had said, oh, have you listened to some of her previous work, though? Like, where do you compare it with some of her other albums? Now we're having a conversation. And if in that conversation they want to say, yeah, I personally like her sad stuff, and so that's why I can't get into this album, that's an easier jump off point to talk than like, I don't think so, this one sucks, her old one was way better. That's not a conversation. That's like a dead end to me.
Right. So I guess because this scenario, it's like someone else is being crass towards you. So
Well, like we said earlier, lead with curiosity.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the bigger person, when they say their old stuff was better, you could say, tell me why.
Yes. Yes. They might be more aggressive in their opinions. You still have the option to remain curious. If you want to stay in that conversation, you could also walk away.
You don't have to say anything at all.
Yeah. If they continue to be crass after you've attempted to stay curious, then you're just not each other's cup of tea. And that's okay, because you don't want crass people like that in your life. Keep it classy.
Keep it classy. Yeah. So whether you're the person who thinks their old stuff was better, or you're the one that was just verbally attacked for having a different opinion, lead with curiosity. Curiosity is always going to be classy.
Exactly.
Well, that about wraps it up for today. If there's one takeaway, It's this: belonging doesn't just happen, you build it by boldly sharing what you love.
Whether your people are in a TikTok hashtag, a Discord group, a book club, or sitting next to you at a concert, shared passion is one of the fastest ways to real connection.
And Classy Community invites people in. You don't have to gatekeep joy. Let people love things loudly, even if they're just getting started.
We want to hear from you. What's your fandom or internet corner? BookTok? Gaming? Taylor Swift? My Favorite Murder? Send us your stories at artofclassiness@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or TikTok at artofclassiness.
Thanks for listening, and remember, classy is a state of mind.
So mind your classiness. Bye!